Meat processing plants across New Zealand are doing it hard as livestock numbers are dropping and keep dropping. It's forcing big players like Silver Fern Farms and Alliance Group to scale back their operations. With fewer sheep and dairy cattle coming through, plants are struggling to match their staffing levels to what's actually arriving at the gates. Alliance already shut its Smithfield plant in Timaru last year, and Silver Fern Farms currently has around 3,000 seasonal workers on layoff, especially on night shifts, just to keep the costs under control. While farmers are enjoying high prices for their stock thanks to strong demand, it's making things even tougher for meat companies trying to stay profitable. Silver Fern Farms posted a 21.8 million loss this year after losing 24.4 million 2023. Alliance did even worse, losing nearly 96 million, half of that due to redundancies. Meatworkers Union boss Daryl Carran says they've warned companies for years the livestock numbers were on the decline, and now it's catching up with them. And he joins me now. Daryl, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. Made me think when I was looking at this story, because I'm from Hawke's Bay, and I had a lot of family cousins at the old Whakatū Works, back in the day.
Yeah.
And and a lot of kids left school and went straight to the works. And if, those days look like they might be over. But Daryl, isn't it simply a case of too many plants for the stock that's available?
Yeah, and look, we've faced this time and time again over decades. I've obviously had my time of 50 years in the industry. And starting as a young fella straight out of school, some of my friends went into trades. I think they were better off, and that's good. Better choice, I gather. And look, we're at the peak then in those times in the mid-70s because the government was in power at the time, was National under Muldoon, who heavily subsidised the sheep industry. And that was mainly on the basis of trying to keep the industry going. So instead of trying to increase returns, it virtually subsidised them and encouraged farmers to produce more, leading to a blowout population of something like 70 million breeding sheep at peak.
Yeah.
And that inevitably delayed any rationalisation of sites that would have actually occurred had those subsidies not been on. So farmers got used to the subsidies. Then we had the period under the Rogernomics where interest rates just massively climbed. And the sad part about that era was we've seen farmers committing suicide, being put off the land, dramatic times, and it was very, very dramatic. And then, of course, we've seen the subsidies removed, obviously, and then moved into rationalisation. So I'm actually a former Alliance worker for 25 and a half years. However, I spent most of my days as a union rep from the age of 18 to where I am today, which is probably not close on retirement.
Yeah.
So we've had this continual decline of breeding ewe numbers. It hasn't really stopped. Every year there's been a slight drop. There might have been a stable period for a year or two, and then obviously the decline continued. But the real speed up has been since 2014, where you've seen to 2014 to 2024, we've had something like 806,000 hectares planted in trees that are not farming. It's not a farming enterprise for trees. This is over and above the normal, tree farmers that actually farm them for their livelihoods. This is actually just for the ETS purposes.
Yeah,
that's going to have a big negative to the area, so to the rural areas, because there is no maintenance on these trees. They're just purely there for ETS. They just grow, then they fall over.
Yeah.
So that's displaced significant numbers. So when you're talking about losing 6.2 million breeding ewes, that's equivalent to 9 million lambs. That's 4,000 or 5,000 jobs in the industry.
Yeah.
Now, but during that period, the only closure we've seen really is two. A very small one that only it started very, very recently, then closed because it couldn't make the figures work, and that was one on a Gore plant.
Right.
Called Black Origin, and that was just simply put into receivership. So then we've had the Smithfield closure, which ironically is probably, they got 4 or 5 years to work is longer out of that plant than what it probably should have had.
Right.
Because when you're not making profits, you're not reinvesting back into your sites. And quite frankly, some of the investments decisions on technology, not in terms of technology implementation for improvement in production, but technology in terms of, upscaling different communications and different sort of marketing things, which really didn't actually pay off that well. So it wasn't really a good decision in one company alone.
Yeah.
I won't name it, but and then we've seen at all sudden peak, we've seen the 2 losses of Alliance, a couple of $100 million actually, probably more. You've seen, and just prior to that, one of the best years the meat industry's had, and so the farmers, which is probably back in 22. And then all of a sudden it dies. And that's been a cycle that's happened over many years because it's really a commodity. It's not placed in any other category apart from that, just no different than milk is. So it has major cycles. It can have a good year, maybe a good 2 years if you're lucky, and then it just plummets because it's dictated by the market. Now, what happens is when you have an overcapacity, which I've seen many decades prior to that, everybody's scrambling to maintain market share in a depleting volume of stock.
Yeah.
And that's where competition gets crazy, and that's where prices get paid, and you get big hits on balance sheets. So that unfortunately, and then you see stock getting carted from the North Island to the South Island and the South Island to the North Island, which is crazy, purely on the basis of competition and trying to keep their plants full. So, yeah, it's really hit a bit of a brick wall now. And although we see individual meat company CEOs saying, hey, look, we need to get an industry or we'd be willing to be part of an industry rationalization, nobody's leading it, and it's not happening. And this is perfectly legal to do this. It's got nothing to do with price fixing. It's got to do with realigning and biting the bullet and realigning capacity to where we are today in the stock numbers. And how long that will last, I have no idea, because it may still drop, and I don't see any signs where it's not going to stop dropping.
So, Daryl, sorry, I just want to jump in here because you have said that you've talked about realigning capacity with the reducing livestock numbers. This, in your mind, this is vital, right, to the sector's sustainability. And you're hearing what? No, pushback, not interested, what?
Excuse me. No, I'm hearing individually say from CEOs, yes, we'd be happy to participate in it, but close your plants, not mine.
Yeah.
It can't work like that. Everybody's got a problem in their own, in their own regions that they mainly dominate and operate out of, even though they're all straddle the country, those big players.
Yeah.
They have to actually be sober about it and say, look, we've closed one in one area, you close another one there and whatever, because it's not hard to work out which ones are not really necessary, and it's all about competition for market share. So even though your balance sheet might be okay one year, if you take a bad hit, then you're gone from you've gone from having a reasonable stable balance sheet to a disaster, and it can happen so quickly.
Yeah,
as you've seen with Alliance, you see. So then you're forced into looking for investors, but you've got to actually deal with if you don't deal with the problem now, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. And what about these 3,000 workers, Daryl, that are on seasonal layoff at the moment?